Greetings, I'm Kelly, a 36-year-old woman with an extraordinary tale to share. The narrative revolves around my estranged ex-husband. Even though we are technically still married, I consider him as my ex due to the distressing events that transpired 3 years ago, affecting both me and our daughter Diana. Back then, when Diana was just 12, we faced severe financial struggles attributed to my husband's reckless squandering of our money. The situation created intense tension within our household, as relying on a single salary proved insufficient. Despite my efforts to shield Diana from the harsh reality, she, even at her young age, sensed the disharmony and began harboring resentment towards her father for his extravagant spending habits. The breaking point came on a cold and rainy afternoon, April 12th, 3 years ago, when he left. While he had left us alone for extended periods before, this time it felt permanent. A year passed without any sign of his return, solidifying our conviction that he was gone for good. In the aftermath of his departure, both Diana and I developed a profound disdain for him. Diana expressed her feelings, stating, "I hated Mom." I reassured her, acknowledging her sentiments and echoing her sentiments towards the man who had wronged us. I assured her that I would work tirelessly to provide for her needs, stepping into the void left by her father's absence. True to my promise, I worked diligently to ensure that Diana never lacked anything. I resigned from my job and delved into the realms of affiliate marketing and content writing. It took approximately a year to establish a livelihood I could take pride in. During this time, I achieved the milestone of becoming a homeowner and acquired a luxurious car for both Diana and myself. Our prosperity was evident, and I was pleased that my strong work ethic influenced Diana, prompting her to embark on a career in online content creation. Diana successfully garnered a substantial following of 110,000 on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, evolving into a rising star. Turning one's lifestyle into a source of income is a rewarding endeavor in today's age, and I am immensely proud of her achievements. Unfortunately, the upward trajectory in our lives took a downturn when we experienced the loss of Matthew, my ex-father-in-law and Diana's grandpa. Despite Jerry, my ex-husband, leaving us years ago, we maintained a connection with his parents. They were good-hearted people who supported us during both financial hardships and emotional challenges. Matthew, however, was profoundly affected by Jerry's actions. While the rest of us had given up hope, Matthew clung to the belief that Jerry would one day return with an explanation that could alter our perspective on his actions. As unrealistic as it may sound, Matthew's love and optimism could not accept anything less. Regrettably, Matthew never had the chance to witness whether his hope would be justified as he passed away. Although he lived a long and fulfilling life, the absence of communication from his son likely contributed to his demise. Diana and I attended the funeral, where we encountered Madison, Diana's grandma, and my ex-mother-in-law. Overwhelmed by grief, we embraced tightly. Amidst the somber event, something utterly astonishing occurred, too shocking to fathom. The cemetery's ambiance, coupled with pallid and distressed faces, may have played tricks on my mind, for I could have sworn I witnessed a ghost in the distance. I witnessed the presence of a ghost, the ghost of a man who had been absent from my life for 3 years. This spectral figure resembled my husband, though I grappled with the ambiguity of whether it was a fortunate or unfortunate encounter. It wasn't a supernatural apparition, rather, it was my actual husband, yet he bore an uncanny resemblance to a ghost. His unnaturally slim appearance suggested a drained vitality, as if all the life force had been siphoned from him. I attributed this frailty to the distressing news of his father's demise, assuming that such harrowing information would naturally take a toll on anyone's well-being. As he approached the funeral, a collective shock swept through the gathering. Diana, our daughter, erupted in screams and berated her father for abandoning us years ago. His mother sobbed even harder, grappling with the apparent wrong turns their lives had taken. In stark contrast, I remained frozen, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions that rendered me immobile. Observing the tumultuous scene, I recognized that his presence was not welcomed. Despite my deep-seated resentment and hatred towards him, I couldn't deny the fact that he had lost his father and deserved the chance to bid him a final farewell. Expressing this sentiment to the others, we agreed, at least momentarily, to set aside our grievances and maintain a semblance of civility in honor of the departed Matthew. The funeral continued, and we reconvened at my home. Even Jerry, my estranged husband, joined us and remarked on the pleasantness of the surroundings. However, I was quick to cut through the facade, insisting that he couldn't simply waltz in without addressing the past. If he intended to stay, he had to lay bare every detail of his actions. As I refused to let his negative energy tarnish the hard-earned tranquility of our home, built through Kelly's relentless efforts. And you can begin by addressing why you appeared disheveled. Skip that. Let's start with clarifying your purpose here. What exactly do you want? You aren't attending Grandpa's funeral for the right reasons. Of course, I'm here for my father's funeral. He was my father. However, there's another matter at hand. I'm here to claim my inheritance. I had to physically restrain Diana before she launched another attack. Whispers circulated, heads turned, and a brewing conflict loomed. Fortunately, Madison skillfully managed the crowd as I directed Jerry and Diana to a more secluded area of the house. I never intended to harm you, my dear. Don't use that term. I mean nothing to you. You forfeited any claim when you abandoned us without explanation. What kind of father does that? I've tried to forgive, but it's impossible. Look, Diana, Kelly, I regret everything. I'm in dire need of money. I'm facing some issues. Do you think we're concerned about you and your troubles? It seems you've fallen in with the wrong crowd. Are you involved in drugs? Jerry hesitated, and the color draining from his face suddenly became evident. Jerry. At that instant, Madison joined us. Now that I've resolved things, Jerry, could you please clarify what happened? Your father waited patiently, clinging to the hope that you'd return with an explanation to dispel our doubts. Give me some good news. Give me something to believe in. I came here to claim my inheritance, Mom. He's hooked on drugs, Grandma. He came for his inheritance to finance his habit. No, it's not like that at all. You were right about me associating with the wrong crowd. Let's just say I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now I owe some people money. How much are we talking about? $75,000, Grandma. What have you done? Well, that's just great. While Mom and I were struggling to stay warm and fed, you were entangled with shady individuals. We won't assist you in that. You've made your choices, and now you must face the consequences. Darling, I understand you're distressed, but can we discuss whether you're attempting to support him at this moment? He has departed, leaving us and Mom behind. I understand, Diana. It's not easy to accept, but he left not only you, but also me, your grandmother and Grandpa. He shattered our hearts, and it's hard to forgive him for that. Surprisingly, it seems he has learned his lesson now. Looking at him, it's unbelievable how I defended him so fervently back then, not realizing that my actions may have contributed to his eventual choices. After the funeral, Jerry stayed in a motel, and Madison, mainly Madison, and I would visit him, offering assistance. Diana adamantly refused to see him again. Our primary goal was to settle his inheritance so he could move on. Diana and I decided to distance ourselves from him, but Madison, being his mother, wanted to try to rebuild something. In the following weeks, family lawyers worked on authenticating Matthew's will and determining inheritance values. Madison brought Jerry to the house to foster a civil environment among us, realizing that bitterness and hatred wouldn't benefit anyone. Although it would take time, we needed to work towards some semblance of normalcy. Diana occasionally joined us, choosing silence over conversation. However, she mostly opted out of the entire process. Eventually, the lawyers informed us of the inheritance amounts each person would receive. To everyone's surprise, Jerry's share amounted to $75,000. Diana was furious, finding it unjust that someone who had caused her years of unhappiness would suddenly be rewarded. While I empathized with Diana's frustration, it wasn't within her power to decide whether Jerry would receive the money or not. Madison and I seemed indifferent to the findings, eager to conclude the process and return to our normal lives. As Jerry adapted to his new lifestyle, there seemed to be a noticeable change in his demeanor. He underwent a significant transformation from a shy, timid, and remorseful individual to someone slightly arrogant and cocky, particularly upon learning that he would receive precisely what he came for. I observed this change in behavior but chose not to address it, attributing it to the drugs he was using. Witnessing a once respectable man deteriorate in such a manner was disheartening, and I struggled to comprehend it. As more weeks passed, a friend informed me that Jerry's inheritance money was ready for collection. He remained unaware of this, and I felt compelled to share this information with you in advance. Despite the difficulty in contemplating giving a substantial amount of money to an addict, I couldn't bring myself to be the one to hand it over. I feared it might lead to his disappearance, shattering the sliver of hope I still held for him. Can you please take on the responsibility? Arya, I understand how challenging this has been for you. It requires a different kind of strength as a mother to witness such a distressing situation involving your child. You've been resilient for too long. Now it's time for you to rest. Please don't worry. I'll manage everything. Although I accepted the task of delivering Jerry the money, I too needed time to compose myself and find peace with whatever outcome awaited. Ironically, I sought solace in the attic, where remnants of my old life were stored. Retaining items from the past, once filled with pain, now served as reminders of my journey. The attic became a perfect place for me to reflect, surrounded by the dusty plastic tea set acquired during a time when proper dishes and cutlery were unaffordable. I recalled the half-dead heater with a mind of its own, often choosing when to function and leaving Diana and I huddled together for warmth that was never enough. I gazed at Jerry's old chest, filled with what I assumed were ancient work documents. The fear of discovering the extent of the money drained from our household to support his seemingly more crucial lifestyle prevented me from ever opening it. However, on the day I was slated to hand him the money, a newfound resolve overcame my apprehension. Determined to uncover the truth, I broke open the now worn-out chest. Inside, I found an abundance of bank statements and checkbooks, meticulously detailing the substantial amount of money Jerry had squandered. As I perused the bank statements, identifying the account recipient as a certain Evelyn, an unfamiliar name, I delved deeper into the mystery. Buried within the chest was a handwritten letter that sent my heart plummeting. The letter, addressed to Jerry, exposed a clandestine affair. It expressed Evelyn's frustration with Jerry's reluctance to leave his family as promised. She threatened to involve someone named Paul, to whom Jerry owed a considerable sum for the drugs they consumed together. The letter gave him 38 hours to confess to his family, or Evelyn would take drastic measures, revealing their affair and his extravagant gifts to her. Reading this revelation left me in shock. Jerry had been having an affair before his departure, and he had used the money on his mistress. The sheer betrayal overwhelmed me, making me physically sick. This man had prioritized his hedonistic lifestyle while leaving his wife and child at home to suffer. It was unforgivable and repulsive. This letter explained his reprehensible behavior, selfish self-indulgence. The rage and bitterness that had been festering within me reached a boiling point. At this juncture, I moved on autopilot, gathering everything from the chest and storming toward the dingy motel where Jerry was residing. I burst into the room only to find Jerry with drugs scattered on the bed. "You're completely unbelievable. You're doing drugs just as I was about to give you the money." "What, you have the money? That's great, give it to me," he retorted, revealing a pathetic and sickening demeanor. "Yeah, well, I don't care. Give me the money, Kelly." Ignoring his demand, I flung the papers toward him while tightly gripping the letter I had recently discovered. As he sifted through the bank statements he had conveniently hidden from me, I began reading the letter aloud. He froze, looking even more sickly and pale than before, now resembling a scared little puppy. "Did you get this letter on April 11th, right before you left?" I asked, cutting off any attempts at explanation. "I'm gonna explain," he stammered. "No, Jerry, you can't explain. The time for explaining is over. You're 3 years too late," I declared. "I was sick, Kelly. I still am sick, as you can see. Stop with the excuses, Jerry. Do you think I wasn't tired? Do you think I didn't seek relief wherever I could find it? We all make choices. You're a grown man, damn it. You left us because you were having an affair. It wasn't like that," he insisted. "Then what was it like?" I demanded. "I never loved you. I never wanted that life. I never wanted to be with you. I just got with you and had the kids so that Mom and Dad could get off my back. I never wanted responsibility, and frankly, I don't care enough to rekindle or mend anything between us. Not you, not Diana, and not even my mother. I know it sounds awful to say, but it's the truth. Take it or leave it. Now give me my money." His lack of surprise at my harsh words only confirmed my long-standing view of him as the evil villain. As I looked at him now, he resembled some demon from a comic book, disgusting in every way. "Kelly, I couldn't care less about your opinion of me. Just hand over my money. Evelyn and Paul have some influence over you, even if it's minimal." He hesitated again, confirming my suspicions. "So, you've managed to escape their clutches, for now, running with a new crowd. But being the disaster that you are, you've also messed up those relationships." He nodded briefly. "Let me make this clear. You're leaving this place immediately without the money. You won't receive a single cent of the inheritance. Consider it reparations for Diana and me. You owe us that much. Concerned about Edward? Not my problem. You should have considered the consequences before getting involved in this mess. And what if you refuse? Well, someone with a substantial following on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube might just happen to leak some very private information about you, the kind that could reach anyone, including individuals named Paul and Evelyn. Furthermore, someone else with a highly successful blog and website could write an article exposing you to anyone with an internet connection. All right, I get it, loud and clear. You've got 30 hours to gather your belongings and leave. Leave this city, leave this state. Your presence is no longer welcome here. There's no need for farewells. I'll inform Madison and Diana about everything. Their hearts have suffered enough, and it's truly a shame. Frankly, I don't even know what to say. How about ciao and good luck? Let's hope your drug associates don't treat you too harshly, though. Upon reflection, I find myself indifferent to whatever they do to you. You've been dead to me for the past 3 years. He departed from town the next day, and thankfully none of us have encountered him since. I find solace in the fact that all of us now have closure regarding Jerry's whereabouts and the reasons behind his departure.